Hey guys, welcome back. So I know that last time I posted, I said that we were going to discuss a little bit as to um, probably what caused Ava's kidney failure and what it's like living with kidney failure. Um, so I guess we're just going to start from the beginning because that would probably make the most sense, even though the whole story seems to be a little bit all over the place. But yeah, because I know there is so many different genetics, diseases, and just random things that can ultimately cause kidney failure. And it's crazy to even think of all the different kinds that can cause it. Um, and then there's some that's just unknown. As of right now, technically, baby A's little kidney failure is pretty much unknown. They have tried to target it to what they think it might be caused by, but we don't have an actual official answer. They wanted to do genetic testing to figure out what caused it, but Dad and I opted not to, just for the simple fact that they take so much blood, and kidney patients don't, like, if they have really poor kidney function, which baby A has zero kidney function, your kidneys create red blood cells. So when they take blood from you, you have a really hard time creating blood. And even though she is on iron and lots of other medicines to help with recreating those red blood cells, she just doesn't really want. Then she ends up needing a blood transfusion. And then the more blood transfusions you get, the more it can cause issues of finding a match of a kidney when it's further down the road to get one. So we didn't do genetic testing. We opted out of it. In the future, we may. Or if she shows any other signs of issues, we may. We've done some genetic testing. Like, if she shows a lot of signs for something, we would definitely test for it. And luckily, everything has came back negative. So what we're thinking caused it, what they have pretty much labeled it down to, from what we can tell, is when I was pregnant with her, we found out she has something called duodenal atresia, which is a blockage like in the intestine, and it causes the baby in the womb, like, okay, so babies in the womb, I guess, like, swallow amniotic fluid to a sense and then pee it out. And then it just rotates, okay? And then you keep a proper amount of fluid. So what happened with that is we ended up finding out she had duodenal atresia. A lot of the times with duodenal atresia also is the baby ends up having Down syndrome. So we did lots of testing, everything that was safe, and we found out she did not have it. She didn't have Down syndrome. She just had the duodenal atresia. Which, if she had Down syndrome, it wouldn't be a big deal, but they still wanted us to do some testing, so we did. So she had the duodenal atresia, which wasn't the problem. Then they told us at birth she would need surgery to correct it, like a week stay in the NICU, life would be fine. This isn't anything big deal. It happens quite often to children, not quite often, but it happens, and it's something they're prepared for. Okay, so we found that out probably about 28 weeks pregnant. And then roughly around 30 weeks, I ended up having, I'm going to say it wrong, polyhydramnios. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. But what it is it's where you have extra fluid, like extra amniotic fluid. So obviously I was getting extra fluid because she wasn't able to, like, eat and swallow the fluid through. So I just kept getting extra fluid because whatever I would eat and stuff and drink, it would make the fluid. And then she wasn't able to eat also. So even though she was getting nutrition from the umbilical cord and the placenta, she wasn't, like, getting rid of the fluid in a sense. So it would build up. So at that point, it kept building up. And I thought to myself, okay, so I went in for my regular checks, and I was actually getting extra checks. And when we found out she had duodenal atresia, and then my other health issues caused me to have extra checks. So I went in, they were like, you have extra fluid, but it's not a big deal. Sometimes having extra fluid can cause an issue, though, as to go into labor early, or if your water was to break early and send you into labor, like the cord can fall out first and you have to get to the emergency room right away, call an ambulance. Okay, so we were being checked, monitored, everything seemed fine. Well, that's when one night I came home from work and I worked an 8-hour shift. So I came home from work and I had really bad cramps, like super bad cramps. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. So I ate dinner, everything was fine, went upstairs. And then I had what I thought was the worst Braxton Hicks contraction of my life. Like, I didn't really have any with my first daughter. So when this one hit me, I was like, oh my God, hold on to something. And I actually ended up having to sit down. I was like, I need to sit down. Like, I cannot stand, I cannot breathe, whatever. So then it passed, and I went downstairs, and I thought, okay, I'm having these bad Braxton Hicks contractions back to back because I'm dehydrated. So I drank some water and was like, I'm just going to go to bed. I need to be off my feet. I need to drink some water, go to bed, see how I feel in the morning. I just want to sleep. My fiance was like, listen, maybe you should go to the hospital and be checked. I was like, no, I really just need to sleep. And he's like, okay. So we went to bed. The next morning I woke up and I had a little bit of like soreness, but nothing to the extent of concerning. So I was like, okay, we're good. Well, I religiously started doing my kick counts for baby when I was pregnant due to having the extra fluid. And they always told me like, oh, you need to make sure you do your kick counts, With my first daughter, I always thought it was a joke. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And they were like, no, really. And I was like, okay. So with the second baby, when I was diagnosed with everything, I was like, okay, maybe I'll do my kick counts, like she's a little special. So whenever I would do my kick counts, I think it's like you're supposed to get like 10 kicks in 20 minutes. So I would do the kick count, and about every 20 minutes, I would only get like 7 kicks. So, I mean, I wasn't concerned because obviously she's moving, she's kicking. Okay, so I let my OB know. They were like, yeah, okay, whatever. So then I would like drink some apple juice, and it would always get her going. Cold apple juice made her like do somersaults. So I would get those 10 kicks easily. Awesome, cool, move on with life. So that morning when I woke up, I was like, after everything that happened last night, and I'm still feeling a little achy, I should do my kick counts. So I sat downstairs and I started the timer and I started to count kicks, and I got 0 kicks in 20 minutes. And I was like, that's odd. Like, normally she kicks. I'm like, but I normally don't do a kick count first thing in the morning. Maybe she's still asleep, right? So I waited a little bit, got up, walked around, jiggled my belly around, was like, come on, girl, wake up. So then I tried to do the kick count again and still nothing. And I was like, wow, she's really asleep. I was like, okay, I'll hit her with some cold apple juice. That's going to wake her up. So I drank some cold apple juice. Like, I literally kept religiously cold apple juice in my house to make her kick. I'm not a big fan of apple juice, but if it worked, it worked. So I sat down, drank some cold apple juice. Okay, here we go. Start the timer. Still nothing. And at that point I started to panic, especially because I'm a mother of 2 rainbow babies, 2 miscarriages. So at that point, you start fearing everything. You're like, oh my God, what is happening? So of course, I ran up to my fiance upstairs. I didn't really run. I mean, when you're 32 weeks, you waddle. So I waddled upstairs and I was like, listen, something's wrong here. She's not kicking. And he's like, oh. And I was like, I think it's just extra fluid. I can't feel her. And I was scheduled to go to work at 1, and it was probably like 8 in the morning. And he's like, well, maybe you should just go into the hospital. Because it was a weekend, so I couldn't go to my doctor's office. And normally they're like, oh, call your OB. But I was like, why am I going to mess with that if I'm going to go in? So I said to him, what should we do? He's like, just go in, get checked. They'll say everything's fine, send you home, you go to work. Awesome. So I went into the hospital, and at that point, they hooked me up to monitors, got everything going, did all their tests. At that point, they realized something was wrong, and she failed all of her screenings. Like, they screen, are they moving? Are they practice breathing? Are they, like, all these weird different things? And she failed them all. The only thing she had was a heartbeat that she passed on. So she got a 1 out of, 6, and a 4 would be passing, but she only got a 1. So, something's wrong. On top of when they were watching her heartbeat on the monitor, it was very flat. Flat as in it wasn't fluctuating. It was a strong heartbeat, but it was flat. And they were like, something's wrong. We need to get her out. Emergency C-section. Of course, I'm 32 weeks, so I'm panicking. I'm like, what? No. Okay. I didn't have a C-section with my first daughter, so I was pure panic. Like, oh my God, a C-section. I didn't want this. But I want her to be alive. Hurry up, get her out. So at that point, when they did the C-section, which I will do another video about because that's a whole nother story, I had a very traumatic emergency C-section, emergency in that case. But from there, they found during the C-section that I had a concealed full placenta abruption, which is where the placenta comes off of the uterus, like I explained in my first video, comes off of the uterus. So me and her were both bleeding out internally. Like I was internally bleeding out and didn't know because it was concealed. Like, so I guess like how it gets concealed, they didn't tell me that's how mine happened, but normally when it conceals it's because placenta comes off and then covers the hole. So everything was concealed inside. So I didn't even know I was bleeding out. So I just felt really crappy. But yeah, so me and her were both bleeding out. She couldn't breathe. And they're thinking because we were so close to losing her that her body just took such a huge hit that in the end it just, your organs start to shut down and kidneys are very sensitive and they just wouldn't come back. So they're thinking that's what caused the kidney disease, but there is so many other kinds of kidney disease, other diseases that cause it or other factors or genetics. It's crazy. But as of right now, that's kind of where we stand on baby A's kidney failure and what caused it. So I guess at the end of the day, it was great that I listened to my fiance and my gut instinct that something wasn't right and went into the hospital. And at the end of the day, it is definitely important to listen to any advice your OB gives you. When in doubt, go into the ER and just make sure you're okay. Make sure baby's okay. As daunting as it may be, it could save you and your baby's life, honestly. And definitely do those kit counts. And if your doctor hasn't mentioned to you about kit counts, I would definitely bring it up to them and just see if it's even worth your while, because it's literally what saved my daughter. They always tell me if I would have been 30 minutes later, we both probably wouldn't be here. So that's very touching and amazing to even think of. But I would definitely love to hear everyone else's reasons and what possibly caused your kidney failure or your children's kidney failure or a loved one's. We have heard a lot, but awareness is definitely the amazing trick of helping someone or maybe even saving someone's life. So just go ahead and drop in the comments of what possibly caused yours, or if you know what has caused it. And then definitely subscribe so we can keep each other in touch and follow baby A along her journey. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.